Hello again. Welcome back. Today we're going to discuss email management, or as I call it, serious email management, something that's extremely important in our daily lives these days because as much as different companies try to go to different products to change email, we have all kinds of things like Google tried to come up with Wave, and then of course we have Slack now. I mean, there's all kinds of companies that are trying to come up with alternate ways to communicate without using email. For the most part, the whole world pretty much still lives in email. And the reason is simple is because it's something that everybody knows how to use. So that's already a big plus for a lot of people. And secondly, it's really hard to come up with something that would be just as easy, but at the same time better in overall aspect. So everybody keeps using email, and I don't think that's going to be changing anytime soon. The problem with email, of course, is that we keep constantly getting more and more of it. Every day it seems like there is more email, more email, more email. And for a lot of people, they just kind of get buried in it, and they have, thousands of, bolded new mail um, entries in their inboxes, and they keep constantly getting behind in terms of trying to keep up with everything, and the emails get lost and emails get missed, and it's a in terms of managing it, it's for a lot of people, it's not only overwhelming, but it's also very frustrating and disappointing because things get missed, things don't get done. And then of course you have the complication of spam, whereby in addition to getting a ton of email from normal sources, we also get a ton of email from sources we don't necessarily want to get anything from. And Google does its best to alleviate the problem by using the spam folder, and they do an awesome job at that, but it's not perfect. And so that needs to be addressed as well. Sometimes emails get missed because they wind up in a spam folder. So it's both a blessing and a curse at the same time. So today I'm going to try to kind of show you a process which is a very methodical way to address your email management needs on a daily basis, and will make it much, much simpler and much more proactive, if you will, in terms of how the email gets managed. And in the process, if you adapt some of these techniques or all of these techniques, you will see that you will not only be able to completely manage all of your email, no matter how much email you get, and at the same time, you'd be able to save some decent time by using some of these techniques. So it'll actually save you time while allow you to manage all of your incoming email and existing email too. So you'll be able to take care of that as well. So without further ado, let me start this little presentation I put together. Go in there. And before we get going here today, one thing I wanted to mention, again, thanks to Google, they made some improvements yesterday to the presentation, to the Google Slides application. And it allows you now to do, let's go back here. It's not what I wanted to do yet. It allows you to do something with what they call a presenter view. And what that means, it means that if you click on this presenter view, you will be given as a presenter, you'll be given this window where you'll be able to look at some options, including speaker notes, everything else, but we don't need to do that. Mainly what it's going to do is going to show a bar at the top there, as you can see. I better turn it on first, though, 1 second. Go ahead and turn it on. And that bar right there will show everybody who's looking at presentation, they can go to this URL right here and type in questions or look at existing questions and just simply click on thumbs up or thumbs down to be able to let the presenter have at some point in time a nice and easy to see view of what kind of questions people are asking and which questions are more popular, because everything that's more popular that's been thumbed up more will be at the top of the list. And so it actually opens, I know we're going to talk about email here, but it actually opens a completely different and far, far superior way to interact with your audience, because in the past it used to be, people would say, we'll do the presentation for 45 minutes and then we'll do a 10-minute Q&A. And of course, unless you write your questions down somewhere, which a lot of people do, but more than a lot of people don't, you end up even forgetting what's going on after 5 minutes, much less 45 minutes. So with this thing, it's very cool because you can actually type in questions, or you can see what other people typed, and click on thumbs up if you agree with it. And that way, the people who do the presentation at the end, we have a very easy way to go and see what kind of questions came up. People don't need to worry about feeling awkward about raising their hand and asking questions. A lot of people feel awkward about that because they think their questions are stupid and quote unquote and things like that. So this is a huge improvement in terms of functionality and usability, much more than functionality than usability, in allowing people to simply anonymously put in their question or vote on an existing question, and then presenter can look at these questions at the end and then answer them accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. I mean, it's a brand new feature, just came out yesterday from Google, and it's an awesome addition to the presentations. And feel free to go ahead and go to that URL at the top there, the goo.gl/slides/RZDA, and then just put in whatever questions you want as I discuss the email topic shortly here. The other thing they added, which is also very cool, is they put this little, they call it the laser pointer. So if you click on this little icon here, then your cursor changes to this red laser pointer like view with a little trailer depending how fast you move. So it makes it very easy for people to see where you're at and what you're trying to point to, almost like using a laser pointer. So very, very handy, very useful for presentations. Kudos to Google. Awesome job. So anyway, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use the questions since now we have it. Why not? For the first time here. All right. So I call this approach, and I'm going to show you in a minute here, I call it the DOME approach, DOME, and that's because it involves deleting messages, organizing messages, managing them, all within email. And when I say email, I didn't want to specify Gmail because now the Google has this other client called Inbox by Gmail, which is an extremely important application, which I highly, highly recommend you start using. Not to replace Gmail yet, although for some of you, you might want to replace it. For me, it's a combination, using them in parallel, because there's some features in Gmail still that I cannot access in Inbox, and there are many features in Inbox that I cannot access in Gmail, and that's going to remain that way permanently. I don't think they're going to be adding the same features to Gmail that they have in Inbox. So with that being the case, both apply. So I'm just talking about email, and what I'm going to talk about in many ways can also be applied to any other email client. It doesn't have to be Gmail or Inbox, although I'm going to concentrate on Gmail Inbox because that's what I use. That's what I recommend everybody uses. And I won't go into the reasons why, but in this particular presentation, but definitely Gmail and Inbox are excellent email clients, both on desktop and the mobile. Later on, I'm going to pull up the slide again so you can see how to contact me, but you can contact me via Google Plus is the best, either on my PCS page right here or on my personal page, personal profile right there. Okay, so let's move on here. So the first thing we want to do is you want to, in using this DOME approach, is basically delete things. And Google's approach initially to the inbox was don't delete anything. They didn't even put delete button easily available. You had to go through menu selection to get to delete, which was a mistake, I think, and they fixed that mistake. But essentially their approach is that everything you get, you have plenty of storage, so this way you never have to worry about deleting something you really want to keep. And with email, it's not any different than doing things with just about anything else you do. You need to put some thought into it, and you need to have some discipline with to be able to do things well. And same thing with email, and that is that it's not up to Google to worry about you deleting things you don't want or not. It should be up to you. If you got something you want to delete, you should be able to delete it easily. If you don't, then you don't, but it's your decision. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the deletions take place, because even though you do have plenty of storage, you don't have unlimited storage. That's one situation. But more importantly is when you delete emails, they wind up being unavailable from search, meaning that if you search for something, you're not going to have a bunch of junky results come back. And that's exactly what's going to happen if you just keep all your spam and everything else that filters into your inbox, not even necessarily spam, just the messages you don't really care about at all. They wind up populating and polluting your inboxes, and they just search there and come back with results when you're searching for something, and you don't need them at all. I mean, it's not messages you need for any purpose. So I'm going to click on Gmail here and jump to Gmail so we can kind of go through. So the first step is get rid of all the stuff you do not want or need to use. Okay. And, there's tons of messages here. And of course, you got some new, some old. So in my approach, in fact, you know what? Let's jump back. Let's do it in the inbox, because that's what they usually do it in the inbox. So going to inbox, there is a command that I talked about before that allows you to see all of your new messages. Because as you can see right now, I have a hodgepodge. I have some bold ones, meaning new. I have some old ones. Some of them are located in updates. Some of them are located in promos. Now, it's all over the place. So if you start going and looking at everything, it's going to take you a long time. So the thing that I have that I execute is a command called, I should have probably put it on the screen, but it's basically, you're trying to say that you want to look for new messages that are sitting in your inbox. Those are the only things that you care about. Okay. And so the command is colon unread space and then in colon inbox. If you put that command in, and you can make a bookmark, like I made a bookmark, my bookmarks bar, I can go right to it. And as you can see, there's a bunch of messages so far, right? Not unbelievable amount, but fairly decent amount, meaning since the last time I looked. So the first thing that I advocate and recommend is that you only deal with new messages as part of your process of managing email. Okay. So the first thing you do when you come in to do this, and I recommend you do this at least twice a day. If you have time, do it 3 times a day. Allocate 5 minutes of time. Allocate 2 minutes of time. Whatever you decide to allocate, put it in your calendar as an ongoing event, these certain times of the day, and religiously do it. Okay, so let's say you put in 5 minutes to start with. You put in 5 minutes in the morning, or maybe you do 10 minutes in the morning because usually you get more email, and then you do 5 minutes at night, and you see if you can handle everything, fine. If not, also stick something in the middle of the day. So you have these certain times, so you're not sitting constantly going back and forth. Every time something chimes in that you have new mail, you keep going back. Oh, it's this email. Oh, it's that. It's a major time killer, and which is not something you want to be doing if you want to be more efficient. So the idea is you do email processing at predetermined specific times of the day. You do it every single day, including weekends, by the way. And you just get yourself into mode. It's like doing your daily, I don't know, cups of coffee or exercises or whatever you do every day as a religious endeavor, so to speak. You do the same thing with email management. You put these times on there and you do it. So you get in there, and the first thing you do, and I recommend you set up a bookmark like I did, you just say, okay, show me everything new I've got. Because the idea is once you process all the new stuff, then everything else that's out there is out there for a reason. You don't need to deal with anything right now other than new stuff. Okay, so let's deal with new stuff for this time being. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and quickly scan. So the first thing I do is actually, once it comes up with the results, I click on the first message to select it, and then I go scroll down all the way to the bottom, and I click on the last message with the shift key, so it selects everything in between. So if you click on the shift key, it selects everything from where you clicked before, just like normal Windows selection. It does it with inbox as well. Okay. If you're doing this in Gmail, okay, you can do the same thing in Gmail too. I'll show you. If you type in, I have a little quick link set up for that. Same thing basically is unread in inbox. You see, I have everything, same emails, everything here. Here you actually have a pull down under select. You can select just the unread messages. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and select all of these unread messages or essentially you could select all if you do this in unread. I'm sorry, in inbox is unread. Either way, but you're selecting just the messages that are new and just the messages that are unread, and then you can do whatever you want to do with them. So you can do it in either Gmail or inbox. In my case, I'm doing it in inbox because that's what I do every day, so it makes it a little bit easier for me. You do it however you want. Next thing that I do once they're selected, I go through very quickly, okay? Very quickly. Go through and I see that this message here is something I want to deal with later on at some point in time. This message here, this message here. Let's keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I might want to look at these things later. Thrilling new reads from Simon & Schuster. Sure, let's take a peek at that and see what else we got. Quickly looking through it. Pocket. Want to see what Pocket has to say. And I'll look at this later. And Medium. And then Copyblogger. Let's see. Help us improve Amazon. Animoto. Inbox. Zera. And Hangouts. Okay. So as you can see, in a matter of literally seconds here, I don't think it's even been a minute, I'm already looked through all the new messages that came in, and I quickly identify the ones that I actually want. Why? The reason is simple, because most messages that come in, I do not want, okay? And I do not want them now. I don't want them later. I may want them at some point in time, but many messages that come in, I simply do not want, okay? Like here, here's an example of something that came from one of the Google Plus communities. Then over here, I have something about IT director jobs. Not looking for IT director job right this moment. Although if you're looking for one, let's talk. There's all kinds of different things. One from REI. And I don't care about REI right now. So in other words, a bunch of these things, Pinterest, top 8 trending pins, all of this it's not garbage, but it's not something I want to see now or even later. So I take all these messages, I identify the ones I want to see. As you can see, there's a lot fewer ones that are unselected and selected, and I simply click delete up at the top, move to trash. Now, when you do that, of course, the immediate reaction for a lot of people, oh my God, what if I delete the wrong stuff? Don't worry about it. If you delete the wrong stuff, it's all in trash. As you saw in the message there when I clicked on it, the hover says move to trash, meaning that all these messages are in trash right now. So if I had to get them back right now, I could get them back. So never worry. I mean, you do need to pay attention. You need to think. Like I said, you need to have some discipline here. But at the same time, it's not lethal. If you click on it, oh my God, there's no undo button. Totally, there's an undo button. The messages sit in trash for 30 days. So you can definitely go back and get something if you accidentally delete the wrong stuff. But the best thing to do is just to pay attention and not have to go through this thing. So now I have a much more manageable list, as you can see. And I go through it the second time, okay? And the second time, so the first thing we did, we deleted, very simple, boom, boom, right? The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go and do the organize part. And that's where we get into labels and bundle, Gmail, and all of that. So let me just jump quickly to over here and look through the next step. Well, I'll go through the process and we'll talk about the labels and everything. So the next thing that I do in the emails here, I go through and I snooze things that I want to deal with later. For example, Copyblogger is important. Animoto is important. Zera is important. All of these things are important to me, but I don't want to deal with them right now. Okay, I want to, and Medium, all that stuff. I want to deal with it. At some point in time later on. So I select everything I want to deal with later on, click on the snooze button at the top here, and it says snooze until, and in my case, I'm going to say later, which is 6 p.m. I don't want to deal with any of these messages. I don't want to see them again until 6 p.m. tonight. So I click on later, and they're gone. Now, if I click on, why is it letting me do it? Still thinking, I guess. Now, if I click on the new again, By the way, the reason didn't let me get off the page is because you saw at the bottom left there's an undo button, which means that you can still undo the operation if you decided to change your mind. So that's why the thing wouldn't let me get off the page, because it was giving me time to undo if I wanted to. But once that's done, then you can click on it to continue. So now, as you can see, there are some other messages that potentially came in. It just depends when you click on it. And now I have an even smaller list to deal with. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to be looking at Pocket later, Uniqlo, the Shimano Soundtrap, books. Some more came in. So let's go ahead and, oops, and snooze these puppies till 6 p.m. Okay. And so when this disappears, you should be able to click on it, and we should be even smaller list. Okay. Now, let's say some of these messages I wanted to see now, like this one here. Click on it. It talks about this thing here. I see this is not something I really want to see anymore, so I just go ahead and delete it at this point. Now that I've seen it, I don't want to keep it. I don't want to snooze it. I'm done with it. So anything that you have immediate, you just look at it and you go one by one from the ones that are left over to see what you want to do with them. Simon and Schuster is also something I want to do later. Touch of Modern will be later, and so we'll snooze that until tomorrow. I don't need to see that tonight. And so, as you can see, just going through several of these loops like this, you keep constantly getting to a smaller and smaller set of emails, number one. And number two, makes it much, much easier for you to just finish the entire thing. And we'll do that shortly here. And get refreshing display here. So we got this help us improve Amazon. Let's see what they want me to tell them. So it says here that, come on. Love to hear thoughts, blah, blah, blah. Invite to ongoing effort, participating. Okay, so they want something. Amazon, I love Amazon, so if they want my help, I'll help them. So what I'll do on that one also, I'm going to snooze it until, let's do this, let's see. Let's do this on Monday, 8 a.m. So I'm going to snooze this until Monday, 8 a.m. And then I have this Hangouts message from Hangouts community, and they talk about different things. So I kind of look at that. I'm not going to delete it yet. I'm going to just leave it for now. So it's in the inbox. Later on, I can search for it and find if I'm looking for something from that. So bottom line is I'm done. Okay, now if I click on new, as you can see, it says no results. So essentially, I'm done with managing email for this particular time frame. There's nothing else left to do. I can go now and do whatever else I was going to do. So if you get into a habit of doing this X number of times per day, if it's one time per day for you, fine. If it's two, if it's three, whatever you decide, whatever works for you. The bottom line is you're able to process it where you're back into the inbox zero state, meaning you have nothing in your inbox that you need to deal with. Whatever anything else comes up, it'll come back later into inbox anyway, so you'll see it. So one of the things we can do then is I can click on snoozed, and I can see that I have things snoozed, at 6 p.m., later dates, everything else. I don't have anything immediately snoozed, so I can just completely move off of it because there's nothing that I snoozed before that's pending right now. Because if it was, I would see it in inbox, but not if I use the new messages only, because some may be new, some may not be new. And so in my case, just to be on the safe side, I usually click on snoozed just to see if there's anything snoozed to be dealing with right now. If there isn't, then I'm done. And that's essentially it. As you can see, I have, inbox basically set up with no messages in there, and I can go on and continue until the next time I'm supposed to be checking it. Okay, so that's that part. In terms of organizing and managing things, this is where labels come in. On Gmail, you have on the left side here, you have labels that you can put in, and you can have a ton of them. And as you can see in my example here, I'm forgetting to make this bigger for Zara's sake. as you can see, when I scroll down here, I got ton of them, ton of them, ton of them, ton of them. So many, many labels. And so for those who don't know, labels is a way to create a label on an email message. Think of it as a tag to go with an email message. So then you can easily retrieve them using that tag. So for example, I can say, here's a message that came from my wife, for example, and I can go ahead and I can create a label for it and call it with her name. If it's an existing label, it'll show you that you already have it. And then I create a new label right there. And now she will have a little label with her name on it. Now, what I can also do with this label is, let's see if I can find it real quick. It's alphabetical, so you can find it fairly easily. You can also change color on it. So I'll change color to be, let's say, this kind of green, make it stand out a little bit. So now if we're looking at the email messages, you can see it's got a little label, this green label. And you can see I don't get too many messages from her. So just one green label there. But if I clicked on the actual, if I do a search for name, I get a bunch of messages, and you can see only one of them is labeled. So what I can do here is I can go pull down this search box area, and then what I can do is I can say, look, if there is ever a message that has the word Marina in it, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a filter. And the filter basically will say that I want to apply a label called Marina. Right there somewhere. Okay. I can also skip the inbox if I want to, so it'll automatically archive it. Okay. In this case, I don't want to do it because in this case, I don't want to do it, but in some cases you might want to. You can have all kinds of additional things you could do with filters. But in this case, I just want to assign the label. And down here at the bottom, it says also apply filter to matching messages. I'm going to say yes. So all of these messages that have her name in there will will have that same filter applied. Okay, now if I go ahead and simply find that particular label and click on it on the left side, where is it? And let's just use type label colon. You will see that I got all these messages essentially here. Okay. Right. So by clicking on it or by selecting this command, I can do that. Also, we can use our old friend Safe to do the same thing. I can say, let's set up deal called Marina's emails. Whenever you find the label, since I already have the filter set up, called Marina, then go ahead and show it to me, and I'm going to say look for it in inbox only. I don't care if it's archived, and go. And that's it. So now if I go to my URL, by the way, those of you who don't know what Safe is, take a look at some of my other posts. It's a special filtering and searching tool for email, for Gmail and the inbox, and have subsequent searches for the same thing, so you don't have to specify the criteria every time. So I'm going to go ahead and actually click on the Gmail, I'm sorry, the inbox version right here. And it's going to open up automatically the inbox, and it's going to go ahead and look for that particular label. And there is all the Marina's emails that have the word Marina in it, basically. Okay? Very simple. So the moral here, or the concept, is that it does make sense to create labels. And in case of inbox, they call them bundles, but it's exactly the same thing. And it does make sense to apply these labels to certain emails where it makes sense. It doesn't have to be people. It could be also something you do with specific topics. You could have it labels dealing with specific um, organizations. You can have topics dealing with specific date ranges. Let's say you have emails dealing with first quarter. You can have labels dealing with specific projects. I mean, you can have all kinds of different things that you can use labels for in terms of how you label things. And the beauty of using labels, you can have one message, email message, that actually has multiple labels. Okay, so the way it looks, for example, if I click here, I could put a label called Takeout Online. I could put a label here called Delivery for Kirkland, and a bunch of other. You can see now I have several labels, all to the same address, to the same message, and it's very easy to get rid of them. You just click on the little X on the right side. That's how you get rid of a label. But the beauty is, once the label is in place, then you're able to easily find things based on that label with literally a single click of a button. And if you use something like save, and you save it because you do it all the time, then you can just simply click on it and save. And like in this case, I'm going to show you Gmail will come up, and it'll show the same Marina's messages, all the ones that are marked with that particular label. It does take a couple of seconds to pull up, but there they all are. So it makes it very, very simple for you to have subdivisions of email to deal with. Now, in addition to this, being able to group things and then easily find them, over and over, another thing it allows you to do, it allows you to delete messages. Okay, so in my particular case, let's say I have these messages here that I've selected. As you can see, most of them are kind of old, dealing with different things that really aren't that that relevant, let's put it this way. So in this particular case, just don't tell her. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to get rid of all these SMS messages, everything. I don't really need, we're talking enough but amongst ourselves that I need to have all these emails in there as well. So what I can do now that I have a label assigned and I can get all these messages put together, I can also easily then click on select all. And right now it says that it's selected 50, which is what I displayed one time, but we have more than 50. So I can click here on select all messages that match this search, which I do, and now there's 627 messages that have her name in it that happen to be selected. And you want to be very sure that you want to do this. Okay, so be very careful when you do this kind of stuff, so you don't accidentally, because obviously I'm not looking through every message in these 627, and yet I'm planning to delete them. Okay, but that's exactly what's going to happen here, and you just need to be careful. That's where you really want to do this. In my case, I do. So I select, first I had the filter set up, and that filter will work permanently now. I don't need to set it up every time. And so now I can easily select all the messages with that particular label, and those are the ones I want to purge. I click on delete. It says confirm bulk action. This will affect. Are you sure you want to do this? I click OK. And literally within seconds after that, all of these messages are gone. And of course, they're not gone. They're in trash for right now, but they're still basically deleted. And so the takeaway here is that you're able to use labels to not only be able to easily find messages you're looking for, but also be able to group them in some way using the label as the organizing factor, and then delete them all in one shot like this. Okay, and then next month or next year, or whenever I decide to do this, I can look at some of these things, like for example with this particular label, and see, okay, do I really need any of these messages anymore? If I don't, I can just use the label to quickly select all of them, and then pull down the menu option to say select all, and then go ahead and delete them, and they're gone. So it allows you, this deal with labels allows you to both look specifically for a particular one or more sets of messages, easily identify them, easily get back to them. So if I wanted to look and see, okay, what messages do I have that deal with I don't know, hosting. Let's see how many I have. I don't think I have many. So I have these two messages dealing with hosting. So it's a kind of a poor example. But let's say we're looking for MS Access. Okay, I have a bunch of MS Access messages. Okay, so but that's an example that you can easily, quickly, with one click, you know, you can go directly to, for example, PayPal. There's some PayPal messages. Messages related to my mom. There's messages related to my mom. And so very easy way to come up with them, and then easily you can select them, delete them. You can also archive them. That's another thing you can do, is archive things so they're not sitting in your inbox. And so if we go back to this display here, on the left side here, you have all the different bundles, which will show up in a second here. And the bundles, of course, the more you have, the slower it's going to be, but that's okay. You have whatever you need to have, you should have when it comes to emails. And so then you can just go, let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, menu on TV. So you click on that, and this, like I said, the bundles are equivalent basically of, and then it comes up. In this case, it's just one message. Let's click on Mark. And I have a bunch of messages dealing with Mark Barras right there. Okay, some of them are new, some of them are not. And so if I wanted to, I could go ahead and mark them as done, and it would put them, it will archive them all. And on Gmail, you just click on archive. So you can select the group of messages and you archive them and you're done. Okay, and then they're not in your inbox anymore. They're still searchable. You can still find them if you use the in::anywhere approach. If you want to look at the Save, how you use in Save, you have an option here called location, and the location has a feature, an option, sub option called anywhere. So when you're looking for something and you want to find it just about anything it could be, then you select, instead of inbox, you select anywhere, and it will find your messages, whether they're whatever they happen to be located. That's how you do that. Sorry. Okay, so let's go back to actually, let's go back to our presentation, see where we're at. So organizing with labels, bundles. Again, bundle label is pretty much interchangeable, same thing. One thing I do want to talk about a little bit about bundles, one thing that's different about it, even though you can set up similar filters, are better to set up in Gmail because they have more options, more capabilities, and the inbox version is a little bit more confusing. But the thing I want to show you about the inbox that makes it really cool is, notice that every one of these bundles has a little settings cog on the right of it. So if I go to, for example, let's use Mark as a Gabe's code. So if I click on him, his settings deal, it says that the filter in this case says automatically add messages that includes this criteria here, which includes either his name or includes coming from his email. And it says bundle messages in the inbox. Currently it's turned off, meaning any of his messages will not come directly to my inbox. Okay, they will go directly into, they'll be archived, in other words. Okay, and so I can also mark them as done. No, that's not what I was trying to show you. Hold on a second. They don't show me this option here. That's cute. They don't have this option here. I can't do this. I can't do that. When you set up a new, let me just try something real quick. I thought for sure it would let me do it. Maybe not. If I look at the message and if I want to, let's see, it'll be good. Let's see, how about, let's move this thing to, we'll just set up a temporary one. It's the bundle already, so that's not good. How about concierge? Let's move this to, let's call it concierge. When you create initially, right here. When you create initially, see it says move to liaison, and if I click on always do this, you see that's one of the options is always do this. It says always add message to liaison, so I say confirm. So it'll do it every time. And it still doesn't show me what I wanted to see. Dang it. Okay, I can't show you this other feature. No, I'm not. I don't know if they removed it or what the deal is. Oh, that's why. Never mind. Never mind. I know why. Sorry about that. Okay, so when you have you saw me have a choice to put an inbox or not when I did marks. If you do decide you want to bundle it in inbox, what they call it, that means that your inbox, when it shows up, it will show those messages coming in as well. Okay, they will be in this bundle, but the bundle will be part of your inbox. So at the top here, you can see we have inbox, news, so on and so forth, and we have bundled in the inbox. So all of these bundles here are all part of my inbox, and then over here it's got stuff that's unbundled, meaning it's not bundled with my inbox. In other words, they're not mixed with the inbox when they come in. And the things that you put in your inbox allow you to click on the cog button there, and then here you can see in addition to criteria, and it's bundled. It says when do you want to show this thing? When do you want to show messages in this bundle? And it says as messages arrive, which is default, so when they come in you see them, or once a day at 7 a.m. or once a week at 7 a.m. So you actually have a choice of being able to say, I want to put, and I only want to see messages that come in under this particular set of rules here from this particular person in my case. I only want to see them once a week at 7 a.m. And that way it allows you to process fewer emails, because some of the emails that come in from some organizations or something, maybe you got some Groupons, for example, coming in, you don't really care about seeing them immediately. Let's say you only want to see them, browse through them maybe once a week, provided they don't expire faster than that, and you just deal with that. And so that's where it becomes very useful, because you can say that, as part of your management, you're saying, don't just show me everything as it comes in, which is normally what Gmail would do and most clients would do. Only show me these things once a week on the at 7 a.m. So it basically shows up once a week, and you can deal with it at that point. So it makes it also helps to make things more manageable. But it only works for things that are bundled inbox. So when you create your filters in inbox by Gmail, I mean the application, it'll ask you if you want to do this always. You can say, yeah, I want to do this always. But then if it's not going to be bundled in the inbox, you will not have an option to display it only once a week or once a day. You'll have to, it'll be just showing up whenever. And if it's not an inbox, you won't see it anyway, because it's only going to be in the bundle. Whenever you click on it, you'll see it. So in my case, I have these bundles with every single year. If I want to see all my messages for 2014, I have to actually click on the bundle called 2014, and then all the 2014 messages show up, no matter where they were. Okay, so that's another thing, by the way, you can do using the approach that I showed you, which is you create, like right now we're in 2016, and you notice I don't have 2015 stuff yet. What you can do is you can go to the old save here, and you can say, it says 2015 emails. You got to give them some name, even though we're going to do this one time. And you don't specify any criteria. You just simply say, look at everything in inbox that was, I missed the dates, dated from January 2015 January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2015. So we got January 1st through December 31st. And located, you could do anywhere if you wanted to, or you could do just the inbox. In my case, I'm just going to do inbox, and I'm going to say do it. So it creates the command there to look at all these emails. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull up the actual sheet that has the command, and I'm going to go ahead and say, so as it executes here, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the command, from beginning to end, there's the last message 12:31:15, and if I scroll back, all the way down, there's many messages. There's 150 of many. So if I wanted to actually select everything by clicking on the select everything, select all matches, there's 342 conversations that currently are selected between these two dates, and that are in the inbox. Everything else I got archived. And so if I wanted to archive these 2015 messages, all I have to do is just simply click on archive right now after they've all been selected. And now I have, well, before we do that, let's give it a label. So I'm going to call it 2015 and make sure they're labeled so it's easy to get to them. And I'm going to create this label, and I'm going to go ahead and say label them 2015. So now all of these things get labeled. And as you can see, all of this stuff does take a little bit of pre-planning, but at the same time, it doesn't take much in terms of execution. Literally takes whatever it took 10 seconds to execute this thing. So now all of these things have 2015 on them, as you can see right there. And now all I have to do is just simply click on we will reselect them. And I'm going to go ahead and select all, and I'm going to go ahead and select archive, and boom, now my inbox is that much cleaner. These messages are not gone, they've just been archived. Okay, and so inbox will disappear here. Everything else, whatever labels were on there, will still be there, but they'll have a label 2015 on them. So I have a very simple way, in other words, to go to all my messages for any particular year. I like to keep track of them by year. And then usually when I start a new year, reasonably soon afterwards, I do this purge of emails going back for the prior year. So if I click on my inbox, I'm really looking just at 2016 things, and I have whatever, less than 1,000 messages that I kept. Usually you would even have even less. I mean, there were fewer messages than that. But I need to do some cleaning, which I haven't done. I'm kind of need to catch up a little bit myself because I don't always do what I preach. But in this particular case, if you do everything I'm telling you, definitely you're not going to have anything left in there that you need to worry about. And so that's the second thing. So we basically went ahead and we went through the motions of both deleting stuff we don't need. I mean, that's what we do daily. Next thing we do is we set up whatever labels we need to set up, bundles, and automatically set up some automated approaches where labels are automatically coming in, if that's what we want, or manually assign labels on different things where it makes sense in bulk or one at a time, however you want to do it. And then the bottom line after that is you can easily take the entire label and you can either archive it, or you can delete it, or you can leave it alone so you can just use it for searching purposes. It's very, very convenient, very useful, very quick. Helps you, again, stay organized. You got to be organized when you do this thing using the labels and bundles. Okay. The other thing that should be done as part of the process is the spam situation we talked about. So if I look at spam, I have 27 messages in spam. I click on 27 messages by clicking on the spam link here, and then I can quickly again scroll through it and see if there is anything at all that's good. Okay, in my case, I'm seeing blah, 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 all of that stuff. There's nothing. So all of these are fine, the spam, so I just simply click on delete all spam messages. The reason I recommend you do this, and maybe you do this every evening, you don't have to do this every time, but every evening, is just so the stuff doesn't pile up. If it starts piling up and you're gonna have 1,500 messages in spam, you're just going to either delete them or they're going to continue to grow, and it's basically this mess that you're afraid to even look at. So that's why by doing it daily like this, and by keeping the inbox, dealing with all the new messages accordingly, snoozing them, deleting things, moving things around if they need to be in certain bundles, having the filters and everything, that makes it much more manageable, much easier. So whenever you do come back and you do have your new messages you're looking at, you want to be looking at something that has virtually nothing. And in my case, now a few more came in, but I'm doing it too often. In other words, normally you would do it, like I said, maybe twice a day or 3 times a day, and you would have this small list coming up. You quickly snooze everything, delete, snooze, archive, do whatever you need to do with things to move them around, so keep things nicely organized and everything, and then you're done. You're done. And the spam thing in the evening you can do one time, and then just get rid of all the stuff. And the only reason you're doing that is just to make sure you don't miss anything that Google accidentally dropped into the spam folder. Okay, you want to make sure that that does not happen. If you see things being dropped in the spam folder over and over and over, then make sure not only to call it not spam, but also you might want to set up a filter that says whenever a message comes in with this type of subject, or from this person or whatever, make sure you do not put it into spam. There's an option called never put it into spam, and just leave it in your inbox. And that's it. Also, one of the things that I showed you on the filters is that, let me see, it'll be a good example. A good example would be, okay. So Microsoft has this little earning thing going on where you get 10% into their store if you use certain credit cards, all of that. Okay, I don't really care about seeing these messages at all. I mean, I want to be able to get to them, but I won't care. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, do a search for Earn by Microsoft. Okay. Okay, so there's all these messages earned by Microsoft. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and click pull down, and there's, I have the filter selection, and I'm going to say whenever anything comes in, we'll create a filter. What I want to do is I want to skip the inbox. Okay, so it automatically archives it. I want to mark it. I don't want to mark it as red, although you could do that if you wanted to. And I don't need to apply any labels to it or anything like that. I just, if I need to search for it, I'll search for it. If you wanted to apply a label, you could put it in here too. Okay. And I'm not deleting it. I'm just simply moving it, archiving it, so it's not in my inbox. This way, from this point forward, creating filter, from this point forward, whenever I get messages, earned by Microsoft, they're always going to be automatically archived for me, so I can still get to them, but they don't show up in front of me in my inbox, and I won't see them unless I specifically want to look for them. So this is a situation also you can take care of to have fewer messages. Unsubscribe from things that you definitely do not want to be getting from any kind of forums or organizations. If they have unsubscribe feature, you don't want to get it, don't set it up to delete, just unsubscribe so they don't even come to you. If you do get messages, like in this case, I do get them, but you don't really care to see them, you just want to find them whenever you kind of feel like going back and looking at them, set up the filter to automatically archive it, and it'll automatically archive it. If you get some messages that you are being spammed, called spam, but they're not spam, over and over and over, set up a filter similar to what we just did, but say never put it into spam. Okay, so there's an option. One of the options is never put into spam. So that way, the filter will apply the thing, and it won't go into spam anymore, because Google sometimes just refuses to learn that something is not spam. And so you can basically get around all these situations to really create a methodical approach to managing email, dealing with email on a consistent basis. Whether you do it in Gmail or you do it in Inbox, it doesn't really matter. And you handle things appropriately, with starting with stuff you delete, moving on to things that you snooze till later, and then moving on to immediate things where you take care of them right there. The end result being that there's nothing left basically in your inbox here, so it's totally empty. Okay, so that's the we're going to continue the recent session here. Okay, so we did this, we did that, and then we talked about the management of the email, where you actually do this every day, and on, so on and so forth. And I think basically over here we'll just do a little recap. So set up email processing on your calendar. Very easy to do. You just let's jump into the calendar here, and in the calendar you can easily set up, let's say we'll set up process emails. We'll set it up to do this daily from 8 till let's say 8:10 a.m. and we're going to say it's a repeatable situation. We're going to repeat it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. So we do it every day of the week, and it never ends, and that's it. And we're going to say okay, and we're going to maybe put a little different color on it so it looks a little different, and we're going to pop up 1 minute before. We're going to have a pop-up so it actually notifies us to say that you should do it. Okay, boom, a couple of seconds. Now I have this line going across every single day. There's emails that need to be processed. Okay, and you can do the same thing with different part of the day. I mean, same kind of deal. And you'll have a reminder coming up on your notifications on your phone, on the computer, and you just go and take care of it. So pretty simple, right? Second thing, delete anything that you don't need. So I'm a huge advocate of that. You don't have to do this. You can use the Google's approach and certainly keep everything, and then just it'll be all in your email storage there and findable with searches and everything else. But you'll have a bunch of junk when you do searches. And if that's okay with you, that's fine. But if not, then delete anything that you do not need. Okay, deal with unread emails fully, meaning that when we looked at the unread display, don't just leave stuff there, okay? You want to make sure you get done with them completely. So you either snooze them till later, or you go ahead and delete them, or you take care of them immediately, but do not just leave them there unread. So everything unread should be blank when you get done, okay? Organize labels and bundles appropriately for you. And what I mean by this uppercase U, meaning that don't let anybody, including myself, tell you how to set up your labels or bundles. Like I mentioned, you can set them up by name, by projects, by dates, by categories, by anything you can possibly imagine. And every one of us has our own ways of, our own ways of organizing information. Doesn't matter if it's physical or digital. We still have our own preferences, how we organize things, how we find things, things like that. So because of that, I recommend that you organize it based on your personal preferences and set up your labels or bundles to work as you would normally organize things that would be the best for you. You're the only one that knows that. So don't listen to anybody. Do it, but don't listen in terms of the details of how you set up the categories and, I mean, not the categories, but labels and bundles according to your organizational preferences. Okay? Set up filters to automatically put emails into appropriate locations. Definitely. Have some stuff, have as much automation as possible. So if you have certain emails that come in and they need to be bundled together or put together with a certain label, definitely set up a filter for them so it automatically happens for you. If it doesn't, then do it manually when they come in. It doesn't mean that every email has to have a label. It doesn't. But if you wanted to have one so you can easily then locate those, by all means. Keep in mind, you can always do a Google search too. It's not like if you don't have a label, you can't find anything. You can always do a search. But labels definitely make your job easier for things that are repeated, especially. That's what I would say as a rule. Anything that you keep looking at over and over and over deserves a label. Okay, if you're doing a particular search one time and you're never going to look for it again, who cares? I mean, you don't need to set up a label and take time to set up a label. But if it's something information you're looking over all the time, let's say maybe you have emails coming in with receipts from certain organization and you want to be able to look at them all the time. Set up a filter, have those all go into a specific label or bundle, and then have, obviously with a single click then, you're able to go back and look at these things. And you can set up the single click using quick links in Gmail, or you can use the Safe that works both for Gmail and Inbox, using that Safe tool I was talking about. Use Inbox's ability to view certain emails once a day or even week. Definitely what I mentioned about setting up so you can only look at it once a week, for example, that makes it, the fewer emails come in, the faster it is for you to process and deal with them. So that's one of the ways so you can kind of segregate all these emails coming in so it's not so many because you're only looking at certain of them once a week or so, or even once a day. Snooze emails that can be postponed, but handle them when they resurface. This is where the personal, I shouldn't say responsibility, basically personal discipline comes in. Okay, because a lot of people, okay, I can snooze it, great. I'm going to snooze it. I'll look at it tomorrow. I'll look at it next week. I'll look at it whenever. The problem with this approach, if you just simply snooze it, it winds up being a situation where you come back and at some point in time and you look and you have 55 snoozed emails you need to deal with. And you're like, oh my God, I got 2 minutes. There's no way I'm going to handle this. And it winds up being your next inbox. Your snooze becomes your next inbox, which is not something you want to be able to do. I mean, want to be able to have, I should say. So make sure you handle them. But when the snooze stuff comes back up again, for it to be dealt with, deal with it. You know, if you need to postpone it again, create another snooze for it by all means. I mean, if you need to do it, do it. Tools in place. But do not simply postpone things for the sake of just dealing with it later, and the later never comes. Not with important things. If you do have something that you don't want to deal with later because it's not important, delete it. You don't need to have it in there. You keep snoozing, snoozing, snoozing. Just delete it. But if it's something needs to be dealt with, then you deal with it. Okay? Sorry to sound like your mother, but it's just a lot of my clients have this problem where they think they can get away with things by doing this, and it really, they do themselves a disservice by simply snoozing and not dealing with it. So you have to deal with snooze stuff. And then you can, do the pins on the inbox by Gmail. You can pin an email and then reminders, which is very handy. It's almost like annotations for emails. I didn't show it to you, but you can do that. The only problem is there's a couple of consequences. That's why I said be aware of consequences. And that is, if you add a reminder to an email, then later on you will get notification that you can snooze the reminder and it'll give you a notification. If you go back then and mark it as done, it actually will archive your email. So even though you're trying to say I'm done with that particular reminder, what you're saying, you're done with that particular email, not just a reminder. And I think that's something that, I don't know if Google meant for it to be a feature or a bug. As far as I'm concerned, it's a bug, because if I put a reminder on an email, I want to be able to indicate that I'm done with that particular reminder, but not necessarily done with that email. And if I delete the reminder, by the way, it also winds up deleting the email. It's just the way they set it up, which is really weird. So just be careful if you are going to add a pin on inbox and add some kind of reminder, then make sure that you understand that if you mark the reminder as done, it means you're marking the message as done, meaning it's the same as saying it's been archived. And if you delete the reminder, it'll actually wind up deleting your email and putting it in trash. And eventually, if you don't pay attention, it's going to go away, because eventually trash will be removed. So be very careful when you do that. I don't have an alternative approach yet that's simple enough. You can always create another manual reminder and indicate that it has to do with email regarding this on such and such date, and that way you're dealing with a segregated reminder, which you can delete, you can do whatever with, without affecting email. But the problem with that approach is you don't have easy way to tie the email to the filter. I'm sorry, to the reminder, and that makes it almost like too much work if you do this a lot. So I don't have a good approach. Maybe Google will come up with something where they can really segregate reminders from emails. They tie them together like they used to do with tasks, but at the same time you don't mark reminder being done, meaning that the email is being done. So those are the consequences. Okay. But if you stick to this kind of schedule and you do these things, you will notice that after a while you get used to it. It's done all the time. It's very methodical. You're handling all your email, no matter how much email comes in, it just winds up going through the same motions, and you get used to this approach, and you don't have any problems with managing email. Not at all. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me again on Google Plus, personal profile, or work profile, either one of these. If you have any questions right now, you can stick them in there if you had some. I'll look in a minute to see if you have some. Other than that, that's basically it. So thank you very much. Let me just quickly see. I haven't used this question thing yet. And this was today, May 6th, yeah. Okay, it says questions appear, so I guess nobody asked any questions. Beautiful. Okay, so no questions were asked. All right, so again, thank you. And until next time. And by the way, next time we're going to talk about what I call an ultimate Google Doc. So this should be very useful for a lot of people. Thank you.